Joubert. En sy is nie 'n Afrikaanse Joubert nie, sy is 'n Franse Joubert. I don't know how you pronounce Joubert. Okay, I'm very French. I'm tall. Anyway, Rose is from the company Coprex, or what's the other name, In Vivo, and they specialize actually in pre-mixes. And their company were also the people that took my meadow fodder from way back, which was called meadow lactating goat, which was just actually a cow ration that they tweaked a little, and they reformulated it and took our herd to new heights when it came to production. And last year when In Vivo treated me to a trip to one of their research stations in France, and I looked at their feeding regime there. I saw, but these guys feed their goats totally different than I used to feed mine. They are roughage driven, they feed whatever hay is available, and they feed a lot of silage, and they feed a tiny little pellet. So I now adapted that regime to my feeding, and it's working very well. So I'm going to give the mic now to Rose, and thank you, Rose. En as jy vasdraai, ek sal maar vertaal, hoor. Okay, I'll do the translation if you can't keep up with Afrikaans.
Hello. So yeah, I'm French, and I'm gonna have to talk in English with a very strong accent. So I'm just gonna quickly do a small presentation of the group I'm working in Vivo, and then we're gonna look on the rumen health. So, so the name of my company is In Vivo. It's a group. Our target is to be a world leader, and we are among the world leader, and we base our company on knowledge and nutrition and research. We produce 222 billion. How many? Yeah, you can read it yourself. 22 million of ton of feed in the world. So depending on the countries, we are based in complete feed, or we are in premix. In South Africa, we are in premix. Yeah, you can see the area where we are implanted. We've got 5,500 employees worldwide, and most of it is out of France. We've got subsidiaries in 19 countries, and we've got 65 industrial sites worldwide. We are a multi-species approach, so we basically work on everything that is animal. So the basic one, like broiler, pigs and beef, but also rabbit, horses, pet food, and duck, and fishes. We work with a certain applied research center around the world in different areas, depending on the different specificity. For example, we've got a fish farm in Vietnam because it's very big in Vietnam. And we've got two applied research centers for small ruminants in France. So there is one in Mel and one in Aveyron. Why in France? Because a small ruminant is big in France. So we've got one of the biggest research budget in the feed nutrition people. And we also work in strong partnership with some international or universities. And for example, for the small ruminants, working with INRA is very important. So who am I? So I'm the technical manager for Coprex. I've studied in France and graduated from a French school. I'm specialized in agriculture and specifically in animal nutrition. I'm working in the group since 2006, and I've started to work on the French market for 3 years. While I was working on the French market, I was working with some customers who were doing goat feed, so that's how I started to get involved in that. And then I specialized myself in international markets for 5 years, and after I joined South Africa, and I'm here for more than 2 years already. That's the group implementation in France. We've got premix and feed mills. Here it's the feed mills, and you've got high goat milk production area, and we are based in this area. So if you look at the map of France, okay. I had a map of France with with the sheep area. It's not here, sorry. So the biggest population is in this area, Longueuil-Maillezais, but you also have a strong area here. So we work with goats for a very long time. As we've got the Applied Research Center, it's very interesting because we can test what we do, and also we work with a network of farmers, and so we can test the different feeding program we propose. So to go back on the goats, I'm gonna. So the guys talk about rumen health. The rumen is the base of the goat productivity. If the rumen doesn't work properly, you won't have your milk. So it's very important to know how to manage your rumen.
As daar enige vrae is, I think if there are any questions, just stop and you want me to maybe repeat in Afrikaans. So reg so dan gaan jy vra. Okay, ek wil net noem that one area.
Yes.
That I visited last year. Just show that again. The mill is up here, at the top. Where is?
Yes.
Yeah. Mill is there. Yeah. Anyway, in daai area alleen produseer 450 miljoen liter bokmelk per jaar. And the interesting thing is, die fantasie van die bokmelkboere wat ek was, 2000 bokke wat gemelk word, baie veel mense. 2 broers en 'n vrouens. That's all. Everything is automated, so yeah, it's totally different class. Anyway, rest, yeah.
Yeah, in France it's very different because the labor costs are very high, and usually the farmer is involved directly with his animals, and he gets 1 or 2 people to help him. So it's a totally different structure than from South Africa. So we tend to go for a very intense, very low labor solution that doesn't apply for South Africa. So for example, the feeding program that Donald was using in the past is to answer to a very low, with less labor, and in fact, here we can do with less feed and more forage, because you can stimulate the goats more often. So it's important to adapt to the situation all the time. So, well, this is a rumen. I don't think it's not breaking news, but it's just to give you an idea. So rumen is something specific to ruminants. It's 70% of the stomach size in a ruminant, and when you look at horses, it's 7%, and for swine, it's 30%. This is the total size of the stomach, and why the ruminant is much bigger? It's because you've got the rumen. So if you look at a goat, you've got ingestion here, then the diet goes in the rumen. So the rumen, the pH is close to neutrality. It's anaerobic, area. Anaerobic means that you don't have oxygen. So all the things work without oxygen. This is very important for the balance of your diet. Then you've got the abomasum, which is the true stomach and acids. So in fact, the meal goes in, and then you've got the rumination. So the goat take back what is in the rumen and mastic again, and then put it back. So it's the first digestion, and then it goes in the true stomach, where you've got the absorption of the nutrient by the animal. And then you've got the small intestine, where you've got the in the abomasum you've got the final destruction of the meat, of the diet, and then you've got the absorption in the small intestines. So from here, you're back on the same system than a pig or a chicken, but before you've got the rumen, which is very important. Yeah, and 70% of the diet is digested in the rumen. So if you don't take care of your rumen, you're not going to get anything out of the animal. This is a physical aspect of the rumen. So you've got two parts. You've got the rumen papillas, and you've got the wall, where the absorption of the energy happens. So the fiber is digested in the rumen thanks to microbes. You've got what you call a specific flora, which is 10 billions or 200 billions of animals, of small bacteria per millimeters. And you've got 200 different species. So it's a very complex environment, very rich. It looks like a liquid, but in fact it's full of microbes. And those microbes, they attack the fiber, and they're going to digest it and make it available for the animal. So you've got fungus and protozoa in it also. So the rumen is a key organ for the digestion of the feed. It's a complex environment, and the balance is essential. That's in the rumen that the feed is converted to energy, because in fact the fiber as it is, you can't digest it in the normal stomach with an acid thing. You need a specific bacteria that can break the fiber in small parts and then make it available for the animal. So this small part, we call it volatile fatty acid, VFA, and they provide 70 to 80% of the energy requirement of the animal. And so also, this microbial flora have an activity on the amino acids availability for the animal, and it also provides 60 to 70% of this requirement. Do you have questions about it? Is something you don't understand about what I've said? Okay, so now rumen and production. Why is it important to have a healthy rumen? So I'm going to first. Very important thing is the goat is not a small cow. It's a different animal. It has, in fact, the proportion size of the rumen compared to the whole body is smaller than for the cow. So it has a lower capacity to digest starch and a higher capacity to digest fiber. So you need to adapt the feed to that animal. So that's why giving dairy pellets doesn't work very well for a goat, because you really need to adapt it, because it's a different animal and it has its specificity, and you need to respect it. So because it has a lower capacity to digest starch, it's more sensitive to acidosis. You can see very often acidosis happens in a farm. So acidosis, it can be only diarrhea. It's most of the time a drop in production. So you don't see it all the time. But after when it starts to be very, very strong, you've got a lot of diarrhea, and then the animal even dies sometimes. So it's important to manage it. And also something very specific to goat is they are selective animal. Donald was saying it. They choose what they want to eat. And if you don't respect that principle, in fact, you create a rumen malfunction. So it's important to know that when you manage the feeding of your goats. So in the rumen, the flora digesting the fiber, the bacteria, it doesn't live in an acid pH. It lives at a neutral pH. So you need to maintain that if you want the bacteria to live. And if the pH decreases, so if you start to go in acid pH, the diet isn't digested properly, and so you arrive to a lower ingestion and lower performances. And sorry, I think there is one missing. In terms of ingestion, the quantity of feed the goat is eating is the key to the production. You've got a direct relation between the quantity of feed your animal is going to eat and the kilogram of milk is going to produce. So the more the animal can eat, the better you're going to have, the better milk production you're going to have. And to do that, you need to have a rumen working properly. So I'm just going to go back here. So a goat during her cycle of production, the needs change a lot from when she's pregnant, when she kids, when she's in early lactation or late lactation, and because she doesn't have to supply the same kind of energy. And linked to that, you've got it's linked to the quantity of feed she can ingest. So if you look at the following graph, you can see here you've got the intake of the goat in during the different phase. So in drying off, you are the lowest quantity, lowest intake. In the killing, in fact, you are the lowest intake. Why? It's because the kid takes a lot of room in the body, and she can't eat more. And then she's gonna kill, and she's gonna produce. The milk is gonna start to be produced. So the milk starts here, and you've got a peak. And in fact, you've got a critical period here, because the goat can't eat enough forage and energy to compensate the energy she needs for the production of the milk. So at this period, that's where you see the toxemia in pregnancy. Or you see it just before, but it explains. It's explained by that. It's the requirements of energy are higher than what she can eat. So what do you do in that case? You put more energy. But then, if you put more energy, you create. In fact, the energy is starch, and the starch is fermented in the rumen. So you put your rumen in danger, because if the rumen starts to digest the starch, the pH is going to go down, and then the bacteria eating the cellulose, the fiber, are going to die also, and then you start the wrong cycle, and it's difficult to go back on the good one. So the prevention and the anticipation of that period is very important, and this you do it by the forage, by the management of your forage. Another point to look at the rumen health is in fact, the rumens, it doesn't start the day your goat starts to produce. It starts way before, when the goat is a kid. You need to build up something, a strong goat with a lot of space for the rumen, so she can face the challenge of the production, in fact. And you can see that this is the milk production at 100 days. And this is the weight, the average delegate of the kid from birth to weaning. And the biggest is the average delegate, the more milk she can produce. So this is what Donald was saying. When you rear your kids, you need to have big kids and to make them grow fast, so you can have a good goat at the end. It's very important to take care of the small one also. So just to go back on ingestion, sorry, it's a little bit messy. So the ingestion is a key factor, and you can remember that if she eats more 100 grams extra of dry matter, she will produce of milk. So every time you increase your ingestion, you increase your milk production. But if you want to increase your ingestion, you need your rumen to work well. So the first key for the rumen health is the kid rearing and the rumen development. So I've been quick on this one because we were supposed to talk about kid before, but we can talk more if it's necessary. So this is the graph I've shown you before. The biggest is your kid at the beginning, or the fastest your kid grows, the more milk you're going to have at 100 days. This is the digestive tract evolution from birth to weaning, because when the kid arrives, he's like a monogastric. The rumen doesn't work. So you need to during the weaning period, his rumen is going to develop, but you need to help that development. Otherwise, it's not working very well. So at birth, the milk goes directly to the stomach, or more or less. It's genetic, and the rumen doesn't exist. After 2 weeks, you start to have some water and a small development of the rumen. And if you give to the kid solid feed, it will go in his rumen, and he will start to develop the rumen. And at weaning, the rumen needs to be already efficient. Otherwise, the kid is gonna take a few days to develop the rumen, and you're gonna have a big loss of weight at weaning. So if you want to avoid to have a loss of weight at weaning and a problem, you have to develop from the second week the rumen. And the development of the rumen doesn't happen from one day to the other, because it's a full environment with a lot of bacteria. So you need it takes time to develop and to implement. And at the beginning, the energy that is produced in the rumen is not going to be used by the animal. He's going to keep finding his energy from the milk. But you need this period of 6 weeks to prepare the rumen. And so at birth, this is how the inside of the rumen is. It's soft and very without any papilla. And at weaning, that's how it's supposed to look like. So the papilla will grow, and the flora also. So that's what I was saying. The rumen is sterile at birth. During the 6 week where you wean your animal, you're gonna have a development of flora. So you have an aerobic flora, which is something that needs oxygen to live, and an anaerobic flora, the one that doesn't need oxygen. And with the time, this flora is going to disappear, and you're going to have only this one, which is the one you want at the end. So that's why you need time to develop the rumen. It's because you need time for the balance to appear. So in terms of nutritional program, so you can milk the kid with the milk of your goats, but remember that you are selling that milk. So for you it's a loss to use it for your kids. And most of the time the goats give too much kids for the amount of if they've got 2 kids, it's a lot to feed. So you need to. It's good to use a milk replacer to replace part of the milk, and all the milk you don't give to your kids, you can keep it for your you can sell it. So you start with the colostrum as usual. It's very important. The first 3 days you need to give the milk of the goats to the kids, because there is a lot of interesting things in that milk, that first milk that is produced. You can't sell it, it's very fat, and it's full of antibodies that it will help the kid to develop. So it's very important to give it to the kid. But after on the third days, you can switch to artificial milk or and a specific milk replacer that's going to bring all the necessary nutrients for your kid, and it's going to help his development. So if you use a milk replacer, you need to respect the distribution procedure. It's very important. The temperature of distribution, the dilution, the milk frequency and the size are very important. If you give too much milk, the kid is gonna get diarrhea because he can't digest everything. So you need to do at least 2 meals a day. And temperature same. It is used to always the same temperature, so you can't vary the temperature. Once you set the temperature, you use it. So it's I can't remember, 38 degrees. 38 degrees. And also the dilution of the milk needs to be well prepared. So it's a little bit of management, but once you prepare your milk properly, you can use it very comfortable. So you don't do a full program with milk replacer. I think you use a mixed program depending on the growth of the animals, but after it has to be adapted to each farm and to each farm. You take care of the water quality. It's also very important because a lot of the disease comes from the water, so it needs to be boiled. Or if you're not sure of the quality of your water, you boil it. If it's coming from the ground and you're sure of it, you don't need to boil it, but you need to be sure of the quality. Actually, I'm not don't totally agree with the freshwater ad libitum, but you start with a starter feed, palatable, and here since the first week. You put that available for the kid, so you will quickly start to look at it and to pick it. And at the beginning, it's going to be very small quantities, but it needs to be available as soon as possible for him, so he can develop his rumen. It's very important to have a very palatable feed and a very and also a good hay. Otherwise, he's not gonna look at it and he's not gonna eat it. And at the beginning, you need to stimulate a lot that feeding. And then to help you, it's nice also to do homogeneous group to adjust the feeding program with each. And you ration the milk. It's not ad libitum milk, so you need to. They shouldn't eat too much because in nature they eat a little bit, they leave. They eat a little bit, they leave. So if you give everything in one meal, they're not gonna like it. So they need to be rationed on it and have smaller amounts at the beginning, especially. But this is if you want to give milk ad libitum 20 kids, you need you need to have maximum 13 nibbles, not too much. So a nutritional program for rumen development is you give forage because you want the mechanical effect. A forage is hard when you touch it, and in fact the fact that it's hard, it's going to stimulate the rumen, and the rumen is going to contract, and then it's going to take back the feed to the mouth, and then you're going to have the mastication. So the physical aspect of your forage is very important. It needs to be hard to have its mechanical effect on the rumen. If the fiber is strong, you will have an increase of the rumen volume and an increase of the muscles, and you need a big and strong rumen to have a good producing goat. And it will also increase the intake capacity, which is very important at the peak of lactation, because you need the goat needs to eat as much as possible because she doesn't have enough energy in the feed she founds, so she needs to eat as much as possible. And the starter feed is going to help to start the process in the rumen with the development of the flora. So for creation of the VFA, volatile fatty acid, and C4, which is also one of the nutrients that is created by rumination, and it's going to be used as energy for the animal. It will also stimulate the development of the papillas with the density and the size is very important, and increase the absorption surface. So at the end, you've got a good rumen development. So this is for the kid and the rumen development during growth. Do you have questions about it?
What's the ideal temperature for
It's 38 degrees. In fact, you prepare your water at 42, 45 degrees, and then you mix it with the powder, and then you put a little bit of cold water to put it at 38. But it's good to be slightly higher in terms of temperature for dilution, because in the milk powder you've got some fats that needs to be broken down, and so you need to you put it higher and then you dilute it with cold water to be at 38. But sometimes between the time you prepare it and the time you distribute it, you arrive at 38 degrees anyway. So yeah.
and the type of the question?
So we have a product named Newin. We put the brochure on the tables. The one is Newin Pro because you need a rich milk replacer. You shouldn't use any milk replacer. You need something rich in protein and fat for your kid, because their needs, compared to a veal, they need more protein and fat than a veal. And also the milk replacer, you use it at a higher concentrate rate. For a calf, standard dilution is 125 grams per liter of water. For a kid, you use 150 to 175, depending of your kids and everything. If you put too much of milk replacer in water, you can arrive to the other opposite, which is to cause diarrhea, because it's too concentrated for the animal. So you need to adapt maybe with your animals. But observation of the animals is very important to adapt and to make sure you've got a good technique.
The amount that you mix, is it different for lambs and for kids?
No, lamb and kids is the same. Yeah, but maybe you can give some ideas of what you do.
Ja, ek moes eintlik al so 'n bydrae gemaak het oor can I just put mine in? We just talk about reading kids, and then you can talk about feeding with what's available. Is it going like you can you can help. I'm just going to take this out. Excuse me. Now where do we go now? Brightness, yeah, easy out. Just gaan dit na my gehare net af. Maar ek het na my stofie.
Ek dink dit was goed om 'n bietjie die tegnologie te sien. Ons gaan vir Rose vra om net vinnig ietsie te sê. Sy gaan nie weer 'n presentation doen. She's not going to do another presentation. We know you're all getting very tired. She's just going to say thank you for listening to her. And then after we're going to have Cobus Mulder that's going to speak a little about sustainable milk goat farming and also adding value. So Rose, you...
Yeah, so my presentation has been a bit shortened, so I just want to say if you want more detail, you can contact me by email. I can give you my details. I'm happy to have further discussion, and I hope I will have another occasion to talk more about rumen stability and forage fit with what you got around. So.
Put your dress up on top of the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Rose, thank you very, very much. Let's give Rose another round of applause.